The wind howled through the desolate mountain pass, dragging flurries of snow like pale ghosts across the white-crusted earth. Trees stood naked and lifeless, their blackened limbs clawing at the sky. Beneath a craggy outcrop, a woman huddled in the snow, her arms wrapped tightly around her small child. She was no more than 25, but hardship had carved deep lines into her face. Her name was Ilira, and her child, barely 5, was called Thalen. The two were all that remained of a village swallowed by plague and snow weeks ago. The world had ended quietly for them, not with screams or fire, but with silence and frost. One by one the villagers had fallen. When the snow blocked every path out and food dwindled, she knew they had to leave. Ilira clutched Thalen to her chest, her breath shallow. His skin was cold, too cold. She'd long since taken off her coat to wrap him, leaving her thin tunic exposed to the wind. Her lips were cracked, her fingers numb. The snow was falling heavier now, smothering everything. She whispered lullabies, soft, broken things from a forgotten time. "Shh, my love, just sleep, just a little while." Thalen stirred faintly, his eyes fluttering, but he didn't speak. Ilira pressed her face to his and let the tears fall, though they froze before they could reach his cheek. Darkness crept along the edges of her vision. She leaned back against the stone and closed her eyes. Her heart slowed. Her breath came less frequently. "If death comes, let it be gentle," she prayed. "Let it be like this, holding him." Ilira awoke to warmth, not the false warmth of frostbite, but real heat, radiating from something solid, human. Her eyes fluttered open, and she gasped. A large figure crouched over her, his arms wrapped around her and Thalen both, shielding them from the wind. He had stripped off his thick fur cloak and draped it over them. His hands were bare, pressed to Thalen's tiny limbs, and his lips were close to the boy's forehead, murmuring something inaudible. Ilira tried to move, but her limbs were weak. The man turned to her. "You're awake," he said gently. His voice was deep, calm, and full of warmth. His beard was rimmed with frost, and his eyes, ice blue, were fierce with life. She blinked. "Who?" "No time now," he replied. "Your son needs fire, so do you." He lifted them both, effortlessly, and carried them toward the base of the mountain, where a narrow cave opened in the rock. Inside, a small fire crackled, sheltered from the wind. He laid them beside it, layering furs around their bodies. Thalen stirred, his lips twitching. Ilira reached out to touch his face, still cold, but no longer lifeless. The man handed her a steaming cup. "Drink melted snow and pine bark. It's bitter, but it will bring you back." She sipped. The bitterness clawed down her throat, but warmth followed. Life crept back into her limbs, aching but sure. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you save us?" The man didn't answer at first. He fed the fire, then sat cross-legged beside her. "Because someone once saved me." They stayed in the cave for days. The man introduced himself as Kale. He was a wanderer, a hunter of sorts, traveling between forgotten towns and snow-laden paths. He never explained where he came from, only that he had walked for a long time. Ilroy asked no more. She was grateful. Thalen grew stronger each day, color returning to his cheeks. He grew fond of Kale, mimicking his gestures, watching him with silent admiration. When Kale carved wooden animals by firelight, Thalen would crawl closer, mesmerized. "Why do you stay alone?" Ilira asked one night, when Thalen was asleep and the fire cast dancing shadows on the cave wall. Kaye looked into the flames. Because I've lost too much. People I couldn't save. Sometimes it feels easier to walk alone than to fail again. She understood. Pain was a language they both spoke. But you didn't fail us, she said quietly. He looked at her then, as if the words had struck a chord in his chest. Weeks passed. The snow began to soften with the whisper of spring. Outside the cave, tiny shoots of green broke through the frost. Birds returned, cautious and curious. Ilira and Kale began hunting together. He taught her how to trap hares, how to find edible roots, how to read the trees. She was quick to learn. In turn, she told him stories, old tales from her childhood, full of magic and monsters, laughter and sorrow. Kale would smile, sometimes even laugh, though the sound was rough and rare. One night, she woke to find Thalen curled between them, Kale's large hand resting protectively over the boy's back. Her heart ached with something unfamiliar. Warmth and the fragile tendrils of hope. But peace is never permanent. One morning, smoke bloomed in the valley below. Kale stiffened. "That's not from a hearth," he said. "It's too much." They crept toward the ridge and saw it. Black smoke rising from a burning wagon. A family had been attacked. Bandits or worse. Bodies littered the snow. Ilira gasped. "There are survivors." Kale moved quickly. A young girl was crouched beneath the wreckage, sobbing, her leg twisted beneath her. Ilira ran to her side while Kale scouted for signs of the attackers. "They're nearby," he muttered, returning. 3 men. "Armed?" He looked at Ilira. "Stay hidden with Thalen and the girl. I'll deal with them." "No," she said, standing. "You don't go alone." Their eyes met. "You saved us. I won't lose you." Kale gave her a tight nod. "Then stay behind me." They moved as one. Ilira's heart thundered in her chest, but her hands were steady, gripping the small hunting knife Kyle had given her. They found the men near a frozen stream, laughing as they sifted through stolen belongings. Kale didn't hesitate. He launched forward like a storm, a blur of fury and strength. 2 men fell before they could reach their weapons. The third grabbed Ilira, knife to her throat. "Back off, or she dies." Kale froze, chest heaving. Ilira, she drove her knife into the man's thigh, twisted, and broke free. Kale finished it swiftly. Afterward, they stood in silence, covered in blood and snow. Ilira looked at him. "I'm not helpless," she said. Kyle's lips twitched. "No, you're not." They buried the dead with stones and fire. The girl, Ilira, was taken in by Ilira, who wrapped her in her arms the way she once had wrapped Thalen. She was older, near 10, but silent with grief. Kale watched them from a distance, eyes shadowed. "You've become a mother to many," he said later. Ilira looked at him. "And you've become our strength." That night, as the stars emerged and the fire warmed the cave once more, Ilira sat beside Kale. Thalen and Aelin were asleep. "You could keep walking," she said softly. "Like you always have." He looked at her, long and steady. "I could. Or you could stay." The words hung in the air. "I'm not broken anymore, Kale," she said. "I was, but not now, because you came." He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I thought I had nothing left to live for," he said, "until I found you both in the snow." She leaned into him, and he pulled her close. They stayed like that, wrapped in warmth, not just from the fire, but from something deeper, something earned. Months passed. The seasons changed. Together, they built a home of stone and timber, nestled near the cave where they had first found shelter. A hearth blazed every night, and laughter returned. Talon grew stronger, faster. Aelin smiled again. Kale carved toys and tools, and Ilira taught the children songs. They became a family, not of blood, but of choice. And sometimes, in the stillness of evening, Ilira would look out over the snow-covered hills and remember the night she had closed her eyes, ready to die. She would hold her child close, now full of life, and smile as Kale's arms encircled them both. The cold had not taken them. Warmth had come, carried on the back of a man who still believed in saving what he could, and it had saved them all.